penetrated through the curtains and fell gently on Ling's face. She opened her eyes slowly, savoring the first seconds of her still faint consciousness. Enveloped in the warmth of a cozy bed, Ling blinked her eyes a few times, getting used to the light sneaking in. When her vision began to clear, she found the figure that had long filled the space of her heart sleeping beside her. In front of him, Orm was sleeping peacefully. Ling stared at Orm silently, feeling something warm flowing through her heart. She couldn't help but smile, as if the world around her had stopped, leaving only this beautiful moment. Slowly, Ling reached out, gently touching Orm's cheek with his fingertips. The touch was enough to make Orm squirm a little, but he still fell asleep. Ling refrained from laughing, afraid of waking Orm up too soon. He was just enjoying this rare opportunity, seeing Orm up close without the rush of the daily grind or demands that often separated their time. As he continued to stare at Orm, Ling was reminded of the complicated path they had traveled to get to this point. How many doubts, obstacles, and unspeakable feelings they had to face. But now all those worries seemed to have vanished. There was a peace that Ling had never found before, just by seeing Orm back by her side. After a while, Orm finally began to open his eyes. Their gazes met, and instantly, the smile that was originally on Ling's face was instantly transferred to Orm. Orm returned it with a gentle smile, looking a little embarrassed at having just woken up, but also happy to see Ling, who had been waiting for him with such care. "Good morning, my love," Ling whispered, her voice low but full of warmth. She also gave Orm a small peck on the cheek. Orm smiled when Ling pecked his cheek. "Good morning, my love," he replied as he gave Ling a fleeting peck on the lips. "Did you sleep well last night?" Ling whispered softly while gazing lovingly at Orm. Her gentle touch made Orm start to open his eyes, smiling at the sight of Ling by his side. "I always sleep well because Ling hugs me," Orm replied with a sweet smile. The warmth of that sentence made Ling's heart blossom, making her even more anxious to see Orm's face, which still looked sleepy yet so charming. Ling couldn't resist her impulse. Lovingly, she brought her face closer and began to kiss Orm's lips repeatedly. Every peck she gave felt genuine, like an expression of unspoken love. Orm chuckled softly, amused by Ling's sweet behavior as he continued to kiss him. However, he didn't resist, letting Ling express his longing. "Peeling," Orm said softly with an embarrassed smile, trying to restrain Ling's body. "That's enough." But Ling only smiled mischievously, her gaze full of deep desire. "Not enough. I need more kisses," he replied as he kissed Orm's lips again, this time with a deeper, more passionate touch. Orm could only surrender and return Ling's kiss gently. He crushed Ling's upper lip, while Ling crushed his lower lip slowly but soulfully. After a while, Ling moved her kisses to his cheeks, down to Orm's neck, and gave him a few gentle kisses that grew more intense by the second. Orm tilted his head up, giving Ling more access, feeling each peck send a wave of flavor that grew deeper and deeper. Slowly, Ling's hand slipped beneath Orm's pajamas, gently caressing his waist to his stomach, tracing every curve with tenderness. The moment felt so intimate, as if the world belonged only to the two of them. However, the silence of the room was suddenly broken by the loud ringing of a cell phone. "Cring, cring." They both gasped at the ringing, but Ling seemed to ignore it. "Ignore it. I can pick it up later," Ling said, still busy kissing Orm's neck as if the call meant nothing to her. "Peeling." Orm tapped Ling lightly on the shoulder, trying to hold his body still as he heard the cell phone ring again. Pick it up first, just in case it's important. However, Ling just shook her head with a smile, refusing to be distracted. I can postpone it, but for this one, I can't postpone, she said, still engrossed in the kiss she was giving Orm. Orm finally took a deep breath and looked at Ling with a serious face. Peeling, he said in a slightly stern voice, making Ling flinch and stop. Pick up the phone right now. Seeing Orm so serious, Ling finally gave up and sighed softly. She picked up her cell phone lying on the bedside table and looked at who was calling her. Orm watched curiously, as the call had already come in more than 3 times. Who's calling? Asked Orm, trying to figure it out. Peeves, Ling replied. He said he'd be here in a minute to pick me up. I forgot that I have to meet the police again today and clarify. Ling sighed for a moment, looking slightly irritated by the call that reminded her of an obligation that couldn't be ignored. Orm nodded slowly, realizing that Ling had important business to attend to. Well, then, now Peeling, take a shower and get ready. Let me prepare breakfast for you, Orm said as he got up from the bed. However, Ling suddenly grabbed Orm's hand, restraining him from leaving. Her gaze was gentle yet full of desire. What are you preparing breakfast for? My breakfast is already here, she said while giving Orm a mischievous look. Orm sighed and put on a straight face, knowing full well what Ling meant. Hurry up and get ready. I have to prepare breakfast for you, he said firmly, trying to keep their sanity that morning. However, Ling still hadn't given up. I'm serious. My breakfast is already here, and I can eat it while I shower, Ling replied with a meaningful smile, clearly showing that she wasn't about to let Orm go just yet. Orm finally withdrew his hand from Ling's grasp. I'll wait in the dining room, he said in a flat tone, as if unfazed by Ling's teasing. Without waiting for a response, he walked straight out of the room, leaving Ling, who could only let out a long sigh. Why is he so creepy now? Muttered Ling softly as she rubbed the fine hairs on her arms that suddenly stood up. Feeling the effects of Orm's serious aura, Ling could only smile a little before finally getting up from the bed and rushing towards the bathroom. The news about the famous actor, Mean Firovich, had been widely discussed on television and social media for the past week. It's become a hot topic among the public, and even students at Chulalongkorn University are talking about it. In the campus cafeteria, Orm and his 3 friends watched the rebroadcast of the news on television with serious expressions, paying attention to every detail presented by the police. Their focus deepened when Lingling, Mean's ex-girlfriend, appeared to give her public clarification. In her statement, Ling admitted that her relationship with Mean had ended long ago and apologized for keeping up the pretense of dating in order to maintain their image in the public eye. Ling also emphasized that she knew nothing about the issues involving Mean and hoped that her ex-boyfriend would be punished accordingly. Who would have thought that behind Kun Mean's innocent face, he could be such a person, Milk chided, breaking the silence between them. That's the dark side of celebrity. We may only see the 1% of their lives that seem fine, but the reality is much worse, Praking replied, responding to Milk's comment. Orm then turned to look at Praking curiously. So, still interested in being a celebrity? He said teasingly. Praking immediately shook his head. No, I'd rather be a model, following in the footsteps of others. I'd rather be a model, following in Ping's footsteps. She replied with a big smile, making her friends chuckle. "Hoke, I've had it with your pimping of Ping," View said while pretending to vomit, mocking Praking. "Not a pussy cat. I just admire Ping as a model. She's so cool when she's working." Praking defended herself, while Orm, Milk, and View could only shake their heads at her behavior. In the middle of their conversation, Praking suddenly turned to Orm. "By the way, did you really get back with peeling?" Orm nodded, then smiled a little. "Yes, but I asked her to keep it a secret first." "Oh, why? If I had a famous actress girlfriend, I would have shown her off to the world," said Praking, his eyes twinkling at the thought of the situation. Orm smiled slightly and replied, "The circumstances aren't right yet. Besides, what good does it do anyone to know about our relationship? They won't get anything out of it." "It's true what you say," Praking relented, feeling unable to refute Orm's argument. "But sooner or later, people will find out anyway." "Yes, let time tell. When the time comes, people will know," Orm said calmly, refocusing on the news on the television. However, Orm's attention was distracted when he heard a notification from his cell phone. He read the incoming message and suddenly stood up while pounding on the table, startling his friends. "Oi, what's wrong with you?" asked View, looking at him confused. "I have to go now," Orm replied quickly while reaching for his bag. "Huh? Where are you going?" Praking asked, but Orm was already hurrying to leave the cafeteria. Orm walked quickly out of the cafeteria towards the campus parking lot. In the distance, he saw Ling standing beside the car waving a bouquet of flowers at him. Slightly covering his face, Orm walked over to Ling. "Peeling, why is Fi here?" he asked in a low voice, glancing around to make sure no one was watching them. "To pick you up," Ling replied with a big smile, handing over a bouquet of flowers. "I brought these beautiful flowers for my most beautiful girlfriend." Orm accepted the flowers with a blush, a little surprised that since they got back together, Ling had become much more romantic and considerate than before. "Thank you, Fi," he said softly with a faint smile and got into the car. Ling, who saw him get in without so much as a word of confusion, immediately followed and sat in the driver's seat. "What's wrong? Don't you like these flowers? Or won't you want me to pick you up?" she asked, a little worried. Orm shook his head slowly. "It's not that. Fi, I like the flowers and I'm glad you picked me up. But I'm worried about other people seeing you here," he replied honestly. Ling sighed, then looked at Orm gently. "I don't care if anyone sees us. I'm an artist, but I also want to live my life like an ordinary person." Orm looked at her seriously. "I don't want people to think badly of you. Imagine if they knew we were back together, while Fi had just ended things with Pimian and Pimian's case was still ongoing." Ling sighed. "I explained everything to the media today about my relationship with Min. Some people might think badly of me for pretending to be in a relationship, but at least I'm honest now." She reached for Orm's hand, gently rubbing the back of it. "I understand what you mean, but I can't keep hiding our relationship." Ling lifted Orm's hand and looked at him fondly. "I want the world to know how much I love the beautiful woman before me right now." Peeling Orm blushed, smiling in embarrassment. "Now that Fi is so good at sweet talking, where did you learn that?" Ling chuckled from the elders. Then seriously, she added, "You don't have to worry about what others think. I'll protect you, and if anyone bothers you, I'll deal with them." Orm smiled at Ling's words. Thank you for protecting me, Fi. That's my job. Ling looked at him fondly. Can we go now? I'm very hungry. Orm nodded enthusiastically. Let's go. Go, 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 sighed Ling excitedly. With a light laugh, Ling started the engine, and the car slowly left the campus. That night, the atmosphere was calm. The sky was dark with stars, but Ling's heart was filled with an unusual nervousness. The car they were in had just stopped in front of Orm's family home. Ling sat quietly in the driver's seat as she turned off the engine, while Orm sat quietly next to her. Ling stared at the luxurious mansion that stood before her, the house that would soon become her meeting place with Orm's parents. Her heart was beating fast, faster than usual. Feelings of worry and nervousness raged in her chest. As if she didn't know how to behave in front of them, Ling took a deep breath, hoping to calm herself down. She was used to appearing in front of people, facing cameras and being the center of attention, but facing the parents of someone who was now a part of her life felt so different and nerve-wracking. Orm turned his head and smiled gently, as if he could read the feelings on Ling's face. Is Fi sure she wants to meet them? He asked softly, touching Ling's cold hand. If Fi is not ready, we can postpone it until she is. Ling returned Orm's smile, though his nervousness had not completely disappeared. Are you sure? I don't want to delay and have to talk to your parents quickly, she said, her voice sounding a little shaky. But what if they don't think I'm good enough to be a part of your life? Orm chuckled and grasped Ling's hand tighter. Fi doesn't need to pretend to be someone different. Just be yourself. That's more than enough to convince them. Orm's words more or less put Ling at ease. She stared out the car window, looking at the house in front of them once more. The lights of the house shone warmly, looking so welcoming and homely. Ling knew that his move tonight was a big one, not just an ordinary meeting, but a meeting with Orm's family, who would see him as someone special in their son's life. Bravely, Ling nodded slowly and smiled at Orm. All right, I'm ready. They got out of the car together. As they approached the door, Ling felt her palms sweat even though the night was cool. Orm reached out, grasping Ling's hand tightly as if signaling her not to hesitate. The door of the house opened and Mei Koi greeted them with a warm smile. Welcome, Ling greeted Mei Koi in a soft yet meaningful voice. You look so much prettier in person, like this than on TV. Mei really likes all your series. She continued with a look of admiration. Mei, is it time to talk about it? Orm whispered softly, trying to lighten the mood. That would make Peeling even more nervous. Ling smiled, trying to remain calm even though her nerves were still getting the better of her. Thank you for the compliment, Kun Mei, she replied politely. Mei Koi chuckled a little before finally saying, All right. Let's go in as Kung Fu is waiting inside. Mei Koi then invited Ling and Orm into the house. Orm took Ling's hand as they stepped into the living room. Ling felt a slight sense of calm, but as soon as they stepped inside and saw the figure of Tanakorn, Orm's father, sitting on the sofa with an observant look, her heartbeat sped up again. Tanakorn's gaze was stern but not intimidating, as if he was sizing up Ling who stood before him.